Hey everybody, welcome back. First video of the week for me. 16 wins in a row. You hear that, baby? 16 wins in a row. Can you believe it? I left myself a golden gift. Ah, okay, that could have gone worse, but still. Lilith. Q302 9JJC. You see, I didn't say that the baby is here. Instead, I trusted the intelligence of the audience. It's called showing, not telling. I spoke to the baby, and then in your brain you went, "Oh, the baby must be here." See, it's called storytelling. It's it's called storytelling, sweetheart. All right, as Lilith, we really don't want to do that too much. You don't want to do it too much ever, but like we can afford to sometimes, you know. It's like nobody wants to spend too much on food, but if you just got a bonus at work, you're like, you know what? Maybe tonight, treat myself and have some Uber Eats. But, you know, Lilith is not the equivalent of having just gotten a nice bonus at work. Lilith is like, you know, don't get me wrong, you could be the CEO of the company. You know, you could start, I mean, the business lives and dies with you. You could be a millionaire, you own 75% of the shares. The thing is, though, you know, you're going through a bit of a lean period, and like, long story short, it's a metaphor, sweetheart. Look it up. Anyway, how am I doing? Ooh, I can't believe we squeezed through there. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I would describe current homeostatic equilibrium as neutral, which I think is good. You know, in homeostasis, that's kind of where you want to be, right? Cursed Eye, not where you want to be, although we don't really charge shots, so now that I look at it, I'm like, maybe this is actually just an unbelievable force multiplier for our damage. There's a synergy I haven't thought of in a while. Cursed Eye plus Incubus, huh? Plus no ability to shoot yourself. I think you couldn't do it if you didn't have... So Cursed Eye Lilith really is the synergy, I think. It's interesting, and definitely very excited to possibly get some HP here. But yeah, you know, baby woke up early, but I went to bed fairly early, and, you know, here we are. It's like 9 a.m. on a Sunday. Looking forward to, you know, getting a nice new week of content going here. Very excited. This week's a little bit less, you know, brand new stuff than last week. You know, Hitman 3 will probably finish it and then start doing some... custom stuff, which I think is going to be a great time, and I don't know, apart from that, you got, as always, trying to get some good collaborations going, maybe a little dad craft, keep that RimWorld multiplayer going, and we'll see where the week takes us, you know? Sometimes I don't know where it's going to go until it's already there. But I had a good day off. Didn't really get up to much, again, as you would expect. Basically, my day off now is just like, and this is how, like, chore pilled I am. Is that even an expression? I don't know, everything's pilled these days, right? You can't just like to grill, you gotta be grill pilled. You can't just have, like, an opinion on politics, you know, now you're either, he's been blue pilled, he's been red pilled, he's black pilled, he's taking the doom pill. Like, I don't understand, man. Things move too fast for me in this day and age. The gaming pill. Like, everyone just chill out, okay? I'm not trying to add those pharmaceuticals into my body. I'm mostly just eating a lot of snacks. I don't know whether I'm eating the blue chip or the red chip or the grilled chip or whatever, but come on, man, I just want a snack. He's snack pilled. Okay, I don't... Basically, no, I'm chore pilled is the word that we'll use. I look forward to doing chores on the... Like, on Saturday, I woke up, it was around 6 a.m. You know, not the time that, you know, as a childless adult you would choose to wake up, but I was like, oh, sick, the baby didn't, and we'll just skip these, I think. The baby didn't wake up at like 2 a.m. this time, right? So I was having a pretty good day, and then I was like, you know what? It's early, wife won't wake up for a while, what if I did some laundry? You know, what if I folded the laundry that was in the dryer? What if I made some coffee? What if I got some meal prep stuff going? What if I researched the balance sheets and free cash flow of a couple of companies I've been looking at investing in? You know, by the time 11 a.m. rolled around, I was like, I need a nap. But we didn't really get up to much, all in all. You know, just we did take a little walk. Got some. Well, originally we were intending to get some kind of like, you know, pastries. Then we got to the bakery, and they were like, "We're all sold out." And I was like, that makes sense. It is 4:30. Feel like if you want to get the highest quality pastry at a bakery, you got to show up by like 10 a.m. If you show up after 10 a.m., you're already done. I had a question, actually. So this is crazy. I've talked about this before. So I've never been like a... I'm not trying to steal valor here, okay? Larry King died this weekend. I have seen Larry King interview, but I have never really been that aware of him, except for like that, hey, he's like an older guy who, you know, sometimes my parents would watch or my grandparents would watch. But I saw him give an interview where he was like, because all the like tributes and stuff were going around, where he was just like, you know, I feel, you know, just innately curious about many things in life. And I was like, yo, Larry King, kindred spirits. Kindred spirits, maybe? Sorry, maybe a little not the right time for this kind of wordplay, but I'm trying to delete it. But, you know, that's not really like... It's merely tangential to what I was going to say. But this might seem like a stupid question. And I'm always hesitant to ask things on the internet because everybody on the internet knows everything. They won't look anything up to verify it. They just already know it. Here's why, right? Well, you know, it's because of the Riemann sum. But I was thinking, you know, when we were going to the bakery, you know, you're kind of like, let's not say indignant when they're out of the food that you want, but I feel like that you know, most major chains, that very, very, very rarely happens, right? Like if you go to a Tim Hortons or something like that, you're like, I'll take a steak sandwich. They're not like, oh, sorry, we're out of steak or we're out of bread or whatever. Now, it would be nice if they were, because it would save you from eating a Tim Hortons steak sandwich, which I have only had one of. And it was when we took my wife to the emergency room like 5 years ago, and they discharged us at like 4 a.m. and it was the only thing open. And it, you know, for a 4 a.m. like you're starving meal, it's food. I'm not gonna try to like, oh, I would have rather just remained famished. No, I was like happy to have it, but still. Tim Hortons, by the way, and we're pivoting here slightly, but Tim Hortons is a weird one for me because, you know, most fast food restaurants, which Tim Hortons is kind of like an amalgam of a fast food and coffee shop. And for anybody not familiar, Tim Hortons is like a quintessential Canadian chain restaurant that everybody thinks that all Canadians love, but really like has gotten increasingly negative sentiment over the years. Like, when I remember as a kid, like everybody loved Tim Hortons, or at least, you know, my family loved Tim Hortons. And then they were like, hey, we're gonna stop fresh baking the donuts, we're gonna bring them in frozen and then warm them up. And like that's where like 30% of people jumped off. And then increasingly they're like, okay, we're selling the company to like an overseas food brand that just handles like restaurant brands worldwide. And then you know, you get the idea. Constantly advertising on television about, you know, Canadiana, and then simultaneously trying to undermine the, you know, minimum living wage, etc., etc. We don't really need to get into it. He took the donut pill. Regardless, not really in terms of like consumer sentiment. I'm not trying to necessarily insult, you know, anybody that enjoys Tim Hortons. I'm just saying that consumer sentiment is low. So whenever I just kind of, let's not say cringe, but whenever people are like, landed in Canada, gotta try Tim Hortons, I'm like, nah, man. Like, sure, poutine, yeah. Maple syrup, yeah. But like the Tim Hortons at Vancouver International Airport, you're better than that. You're better than that. You just came from like, you know, Western Europe, and your first impression of Canadian cuisine is gonna be Tim Hortons? I don't think so. Okay, let's get some red hearts here. This run is actually like extremely great. But anyway, so I have this curiosity, right? And I'll get to the point, I promise. But You know, when you go to like I've never had it happen that I've gone to a McDonald's and been like, I'll take 10 chicken McNuggets, and they're like, oh sorry, we're out of chicken. Never happens. I'm not, maybe in history it's happened, but it's never happened to me. There have been times they're like, hey, we gotta cook some more. Can you wait for 10 minutes? And I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, if I wanted to wait 10 minutes for food, I'd be at Gordon Ramsay's steakhouse right now, but okay, I guess. But never in my life have they been like, we're out of, beef or whatever. So you go to the bakery and they're like, oh, sorry, all the food we baked earlier today is gone. And you kind of like, you start running the wheels in your head, if that makes sense. How do major fast food, fast casual, like chain restaurants, maintain that kind of supply? They must, and I've always heard that there's like a ton of food waste. But like, surely some people here work in the food service industry. Like, if you work for a McDonald's or you worked for a McDonald's, how do you, like, that's an incredible managerial skill, is it not? To buy, it's like a Price is Right game. There's where I'm trying to go with this. To always have enough beef that you never run out, but to minimize the breakage and also, just the spoilage that's kind of like, just makes you feel bad, right? To be throwing out like 20 pounds of beef or whatever. How do you solve that problem? That's crazy. I'm like really interested to hear about how it's done. Genuinely. And then secondarily, I'm like, how much do you end up throwing out? I'm sure at like restaurants and stuff you end up throwing out a lot, but like I have to imagine that, if you let me put it this way. In historically, for me at least, there goes our bone heart, by the way, but the fancier the restaurant, the more likely they are to not have unlimited supply of the food that you wanted. So there are sometimes, if you go to like a Red Robin and you're like, I'll take a cheeseburger, and they're like, sorry, we're out of cheese, it's just never gonna happen, right? But if you go to like a super fancy place, maybe it's a special occasion, you look on the menu and you're like, oh, I've been looking forward to, the braised duck breast all week, and the waiter comes over and goes, before I say today's special, I have to let you know, unfortunately, we're out of the duck. And you're like, son of a... So I actually think that being out of a food is a good sign, obviously, that the stuff is being made fresh and also is well-liked, And I guess, I don't know, this might sound like I'm being false with you, but I would rather hear occasionally, like, oh, sorry, we're out of ham and cheese croissants, than, like, see a video of them throwing away a large, clear garbage bag with, like, 1,000 croissants in it or whatever. I don't feel good about seeing that. But I'm not suggesting, oh, how did fast food companies figure this out? Because I'm pretty sure that fast food companies have, like, partly figured it out by just throwing out a lot of stuff. But I'm always interested, right? Like, obviously, they're trying to maximize their profit. How do they know, even through experience, like, how much food to order for... Because I feel like you would be indignant if you went to McDonald's and they ran out of buns. They served you like a McChicken on a bed of shredded lettuce. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if we went to the item room because of the curse, but on the other hand, we're going to win easily regardless, so... Have mercy. Have mercy is all I say. It's just interesting to think about, right? Maybe you don't find it interesting to think about. I don't know, man. I'll tell you. I don't know how many times I've said it now. All these questions are way more interesting to me than my own job. Partly because I'm sure, like, I don't know, we probably shouldn't have tried this now that I think about it, but partly because, I'm living my own job. But really, when people are like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Can you tell me about what you do? And you're like, yeah, basically, like, for a few hours every day, I, like, just play video games and crack jokes to the internet. Like, so what? I guess not to be rude to myself, but I'm like, that's really all there is to it. If you're like, especially like a few years ago, people were like, oh, you can make money doing that? Now everybody knows. Like, I saw an incredibly scary stat that there was something like 2 million professional content creators in the world, which is kind of crazy to think about. And also, like, the reason I say it's scary is I'm like, You know, I feel like how many full-time content creators can the ecosystem sustain until it just collapses in on itself? But I was like 2,000. Oh, maybe they're not full-time, just probably making some degree of income from it. But like, I was like 2 million. Oh my god. So that's like, you know, there's roughly, I don't know, for the sake of ease of the napkin, let's say there's 8 billion people in the world, because you know, 2 goes evenly into it. So it's like 1 in 4,000 people on Earth is a professional content creator. But then you gotta obviously recognize that, like, in the developing world, you know, there's less access to the kind of tools you need to do that. So you start to think, okay, you know, it turns out now, like, you know, 1 in 6 people is like a YouTuber, Twitch streamer. You started to run the calculations in my head in the shower, and I was like, everybody's an Instagrammer? Anyway. But yeah, like, the logistics of my job are not that interesting to me. I almost feel like, you know, it's a job that's desirable, don't get me wrong, but I almost feel like, you know, the machinations of the job should not really be that interesting to other people. I'm, like, way more curious about how, like, do you ever think about what goes into buying that, like, McDonald's hamburger? It's crazy. And then, so, you know, you can buy some of the stuff in the McDonald's menu for $1. I recognize that the company's not hurting, and they're also not being generous. You know, they're like, you know, they're turning a profit and delivering value to their shareholders and stuff. I'm not like, wow, what a miracle that McDonald's exists, but it kind of does boggle the mind sometimes. Like, how much do you need to buy? Like, how many ingredients do you need to buy in order to be able to purchase, or in order to be able to cook a McDonald's hamburger for yourself for $1 or less? You know what I mean? We're in an amazing spot here, by the way. Like, most places, and of course if you get the combo, it's different. Most places, you can make the food yourself for cheaper. But when you get into those huge economies of scale, I'm like, man. So there's a couple of ways I could do it, I guess. I could buy enough buns. Like, I don't know, what percentage of the dollar menu hamburger is a bun? I don't know, it's probably like, you know, 22 cents or something like that. Okay, so that's 22 cents. How am I going to get buns for 22 cents? Well, you know, if you go to, you know, the cheapest store you can find and you buy the largest pack of buns you could find, I could probably get like 20-cent buns. Okay, fair enough. I could get like a 40 pack of buns for $10 or something like that. Which is pretty close. And then, you know, you do the same thing with the beef and all the fixins and et cetera, et cetera. You're like, it's crazy. Like, I'm spending $200 to save 5 cents a burger. And then you gotta, like, okay, so the beef, like, you know, it's born and then fed and raised for years on a farm. You know, it's tended to, it's cleaned, there's veterinary services and stuff like that. Okay, then it goes to the abattoir, to put it, you know, in the most abstracted way possible so as not to offend people. And then it gets, you know, dealt with and then processed and then, you know, shipped to what I assume is, I mean, I bet McDonald's, like, they must have, like, their own slaughterhouses and stuff like that, right? Because I'm sure that it's probably cheaper to, like, just process the meat the way they want it in-house, you know, given the volume that they have, and then ship it around the rest of the country, or even worldwide, maybe, I don't know. Like, if you're eating the McDonald's hamburger in Japan, I'm fairly confident that it probably was not a cow that was killed in the United States, and then, you know, it's probably somewhere in that region instead. Okay, so, you know, and then there's the beef, and then somebody, you know, drives a big freezer truck with the beef patties to that McDonald's location, and then they get all unpacked and put in the freezer. Okay, so there's the burger kind of handled. It still has to be cooked and dressed, but, and then you got the buns, which basically, you know, somebody's growing wheat, and their job is probably, like, exclusively to grow wheat that goes into McDonald's buns. Then there's, I have to assume, like, an industrial baker that does the same thing with the buns that happens to the burgers, and then, you know, the same thing with the lettuce and even the sauces and stuff like that. And then you walk in, and I'm not saying we should be, like, standing fast food culture. I'm more just like, it's kind of an amazing thing from a logistics standpoint, right? Like, half the people I know, you know, they can barely tie their shoes in the morning and get to work without the sat-nav. Meanwhile, you know, just to make a hamburger, there's, you know, 17 freezer trucks coordinating from across the entire transportation network of North America. Just kind of boggles the mind to think about. Anyway, see, that I find that stuff, like, really interesting. My job, I mean, I love doing it. The actual, like speaking about it, you wouldn't know it from how much inside baseball we talk about, but the base level questions that people have about my job, I'm like, you know. Yeah. No, it's cool. Yeah, you can make money doing it. I mean, I'm glad that people are interested. That's the way it should be, right, baby? Well, I mean, you should be interested in what you do. I mean, I am interested in what I do. I'm just, okay. Not that interested in, like, you know, the interview questions that you normally get. Maybe it's the same for somebody who handles, like, the purchase orders for a grocery store or something like that. Like, grocery store is crazy to me, man. There was, like, one time, there was a cauliflower shortage, and this is, like, 2014. I don't even remember how it happened, because, you know, that's above my pay grade. But you'd feel, like, very entitled to it. You'd be like, oh, I really want to put cauliflower in this dish, but I can't because there's a big shortage right now. If I ran the grocery stores, there would be a shortage of, like, probably 80% of the vegetables, 80% of the time. Like, it's insane to me that, like, I've never gone into a grocery store and been like, they don't have bananas. Like, if they didn't have bananas, it would be such an unusual thing that I would probably be like, I gotta go to a different grocery store. This one can't be trusted. And yet, how can they possibly always have the perfect amount of bananas? Answer, they can't. They must be throwing out, like, you know, thousands of bananas a week, minimum. I can tell the baby's starting to get a little ornery. She's like, talk about Paw Patrol. You don't know anything about Paw Patrol. You're 3 months old. That show's for grown-ups, you know, like 4-year-olds. She didn't like that one. She's like, I'm a big baby. Yeah, I mean, you're in the, you know, the right around the mean percentile for baby size. That's good. You know, I think it's one of those things where being in the average is a positive. I wish I was around the mean for body size. Right, baby? Unfortunately, not all of us can subsist on a diet of exclusively breast milk. Some of us need to eat 2 bagels a day just to feel whole. She does it. One day she's gonna. I'm scared, honestly, in many ways, that my humor is so advanced and cerebral that she might just be one of those people. Cause there's like this old, and that was a joke, by the way. But there's this Patton Oswald joke, whereas, like, you know, and I agree with it to some extent, that the bias that you have towards development, if that makes sense, like developing your personality, is in your teenage years. You know, when you develop a lot of the habits and the personality that is going to follow you to adulthood, to some extent. Like, hopefully you've changed since your teenage years, if you're out of them. But at the same time, you know, you can probably see, like, the seeds of what you've become as an adult, or where you're at as an adult because of that, right? Not 100%, but... And if you're a teenager right now and you're like, I'm never gonna change, don't sweat. It's I promise you, it's gonna be for the best. If your values don't change when, you know, from when you're 17 to when you're like 37, that, I promise you, that is like less cool right now than you think it is. Like, when you're 17 and you see like a cool guy, you're like, whoa, what a cool guy. When you're 37 and then you see someone that's living like a 17-year-old cool guy, you're like, oh no, he's gonna die. He's gonna die if he treats himself like that. I think we can afford it. This is actually, like, this cursed eye pickup was amazing. But it's the Patton Oswalt joke is that, you know, his dad was like a U.S. Marine or something like that, or an Army colonel, and he became like this kind of out of shape, super nerd. So he was joking that, like, he knows his kid is going to become, like, the stereotypical jock. I'm not going to steal the punchline, but you get the spirit of the bit. It's kind of what I'm worried about, is that, like, what if I'm so funny? Because honestly, I think we'd all agree on that. She's like, no, no. What if I'm so funny that she just becomes completely humorless? Like, what if, I was just going to say, what if she becomes a Josh viewer? Sometimes the brain starts to... It starts to move a little faster, or the mouth starts to move a little faster than the brain, I should say. Ah, Father, you've got such a way with words. 6 or 7 tries, you finally got it. Okay, like, look at this damage output, man. This is, like, this is crazy. I'm running through the 90s here. When they're, and I know we've asked this before, but when you're talking about running through the 90s from Initial D, are they running through the 1990s, which I believe is when the show aired, kind of? Yeah? Okay. Or are they running in the 90 speed, like 90 miles an hour or 90 kilometers an hour? Because I gotta tell you, 90 miles an hour, very fast. But Japan also, you know, very wisely, unlike some countries on Earth, went with the metric system. So I would think that they would use kilometers, and like 90 kilometers an hour, it's fast, don't get me wrong, but not so fast that you would like make an anime about, you know, driving recklessly. You know what I mean? I mean, like, that's below the speed limit on a lot of highways. I mean, in BC, Highway 1 has a 90 kilometer an hour speed limit, but then people in Ontario are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I know in Ontario, the 401 has a... like a 100 speed limit, but you could realistically probably do like 110 or 120 before anybody's gonna even bat an eye. And it's kind of the same here. I haven't been on the highway in a while, but if you, by the way, like we don't have very much time left in this episode. Let me leave you with one important thought, like Boards of Canada. If you're learning how to drive and you're scared to drive on the highway, don't be. Now, the flip side of this, because you know I'm not just going to leave you feeling good. Driving on the highway is actually really easy. Merging, first couple times, a little scary. But really, like, you know, I'm not going to say it never happens. But, you know, what you expect to happen every single time is that, you know, traffic is going to be moving at an incredible speed. And nobody's going to let you in. And then you're just going to be like, okay, now I have to crash. It's not going to happen. People... They don't want to slow down for you to merge in, so they're going to move over, and, you know, even if everybody doesn't move over, enough people are going to move over that's going to create a space. And, you know, if it doesn't look like you're going to make the space, then you either, you know, gun it, which is acceptable because you're on the on-ramp, or you augment your speed in the other direction. You slow down a little bit, let, you know, Speed Racer get past, and then you merge in behind them. It's honestly like you do it 1,000 times a day when you're walking. And you don't even think about it. Now, mind you, you're not walking at, you know, 60 miles an hour. But, now what you should be more scared of, because highway driving is especially once you get on, is really easy, is city driving. Oh my god, and especially if you're a pedestrian in the city, you should never, like, I can't believe it's something to see people cross the street looking at their phone. And the attitude is like, well, if I get hit, it's their fault. Yeah, well, you'll be going ha-ha in heaven, I suppose. You'll be up there, put me back in my body. I had the right of way. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. Baby, let's get you a diaper change, okay? I'll see you next time. By the way, I'm live 11 to 4 every day but Saturday. But I don't think today's a Saturday based on my backlog. It's probably like I'm going to say it's a Wednesday today. Come watch. See you next time. Got to find the button to stop. See you next time.